So if you are hopping on, stick around because we're going to be talking about bronzer. Why is bronzer not the same thing as contour? Where the heck do you put it? How do you put it on? And a lot of really fun bonus tips on different ways you can use your bronzer. So I have to tell you that I am a bronzer novice. Hi, I'm Karen, and I'm a bronzer novice. So I've invited two of my Seint artist friends, Liz and Dani, who I would say when I watch them apply their bronzer, I feel like they're bronzer experts. They really get it. So if you have bronzer and you don't know how to use it, or you're nervous like I am, stick around. Save up all your questions for the very end because we're going to do a Q&A at the end, and let's just get started. So welcome, Liz. Welcome, Dani. I'm so glad you were able to join us. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, super excited. Thanks for having me.
It is. Yeah. Okay. So like I said, only use bronzer pretty much one way. And I like to use it underneath my 3D foundation, almost like a self-tanner. Bronzer that I use from Seint is a cream bronzer, and it's really pigmented. This is called Bella Bronzer, and I like to use it underneath my makeup. A couple different reasons why. Let me just show you how I do that. So I just use my blush and bronzer brush, and I'll just tap into my bronzer, and I just start kind of buffing it on all over my face, almost like a self-tanner. The great thing is that when you are done at the end of the day, it washes off. So you're not going to be self-tanned until that wears out. And I just like to add a little bit of warmth to my skin. I've got, like most gals my age, a lot of hyperpigmentation, a lot of discoloration, uneven skin tone. So this is just a really great way that you can apply the bronzer underneath your 3D foundation, warm up your skin tone, even out your skin tone, and just kind of get this. I know I've heard this before. I think, Liz, you said this, like a lit from within, kind of a lit from within glow when you do it this way. And that's pretty much it. And so it just really gives you a little bit of a warmth. So I definitely want to have Liz kind of talk and walk us through the difference between contour and bronzer. And while she does that, I'm going to get my contour on. All right.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. And thank you, Karen, for having me. So I'm going to just contour. I've already contoured my forehead. If you can tell, it's just a little bit darker up there. And now I'm going to go in and contour my cheeks and my jawline. So I use the detail brush. This is legit the best brush you can ever use for contouring. It works so, so well. And I just put a little bit on the edge, and I go back by my hairline to the bottom of my, almost, because I'm over 40, I kind of keep it back. And then I'm going to go in and contour my jawline. I usually start behind my jowl here and go back, just because I don't want to create a shadow. So contour creates a shadow. So the difference between contour and bronzer, because a lot of people think that you could just use your bronzer as contour or your contour as bronzer, but contour tends to be a little bit more cool toned and ashy, where bronzer is warmth and gives you that glow. So you want to try to stick to always using contour for contour and bronzer for bronzer. And now I'm just going to put on a little bit of blush, because I don't blend my contour on under my cheekbones here until I put some blush on. So I'm just going to add a little bit of my Ruby blush. It's pretty pink, as you can see, and I'm just going to dab it right above the contour here. And then I'm just going to take the other end and just blend that together. I blend my contour up and into my blush. And then I just buff the contour line out. I don't make it go away. I just buff it a little bit. So you can still see it. It's still chiseling, because contour is creating that shadow. It's chiseling out my cheekbones. And so I'm just going to do the other side real quick.
Yeah, sometimes I get a little too heavy-handed with the blending. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do. They think that line's supposed to disappear completely, but it won't. You won't be chiseling out your cheekbones anymore if that line goes away. So just buff it and blend it up into your blush.
Okay.
And I need to continue blending and blend down on your jawline with your contour. And away from your jowls if you have them. Blend back and away. Just a kind of a tip there. Okay, so I think I'm done there.
Okay, so that does make a difference. So yeah, so contour is ashy, it's a little more cool, it defines your bone structure, it's made to kind of help you add a shadow. Where bronzer, Dani, tell us tell us what bronzer is all about.
So bronzer is warm. It's going to warm up your face. You apply it to the places where the sun would naturally hit you. So I love, especially in the winter, to use it. Even though in the summer we think tan and bronze, I'm getting kind of pale right now, so I love bronzer in the winter. I think everybody needs it. And so you want to apply it to the high points of your face. I'm going to use the blend brush to do that. I like because it's just a little more precise but still fluffy. So you can use your fingers to dab it on. I'm just going to go right in with the brush. And I like to put it on my forehead. So you saw Liz put contour to define around her forehead. I'm going to use the bronzer and I kind of go just below it. And this can depend too on your face shape. I have a smaller forehead, so I kind of stick a little bit more towards the outside. But if you have a larger forehead, you can just kind of brush all the way across.
That's me. I have a 4-finger forehead.
And I also always keep my hair up off my forehead. So I like to, you know, put more bronzer on it because my hair's not in any area up there.
I love this brush. This is great.
I do too, because I said it can be very precise, but still blends everything. And for me, more is better. But if you get a little too much, I always just kind of, blend it away with a sponge if you go a little crazy. And then I like to bring it down my temple and right to the tops of my cheeks, not quite where you put your illuminator, but a little below that, kind of between your contour and that. I put it almost starting where I would put my blush. I like to have that little warmth poke through where my blush goes. So I kind of bring it down my forehead, my temples, and to the backs of my cheeks. And then I even like to kind of go over my nose a little bit. I'm not great at nose contouring. We kind of discussed this earlier. And it's kind of a cheater nose contour. So I just kind of go in and squeeze it just a little bit. And I don't really add too much definition. It's, I have a lot of bumps and things, but it just gives a little bit of warmth and just tiny, like a cheater nose contour. So I kind of go over my nose. And then if you really want to, you can kind of even bring it here if you're really trying to look sun-kissed. But for the most part, on a daily basis, I just do the foreheads and the tops of my cheeks like that.
Oh, that's really good tips. I think my biggest thing with the bronzer is that, putting it underneath your makeup, it's just like buffing it on, and then you do your 3D foundation over the top. But trying to figure out where to put this to where I don't end up with another whole layer, like too much makeup. So I love that. And you're putting it where you would actually kind of get sunburned, right? Right.
And it's really sheer, so it's not like, it doesn't have the coverage like a contour, like our highlights do. So it's really sheer. And like I said, if you do get a little too much, you can just kind of dab it out with a sponge and fix it up. But it usually it's not that dark. So it's just a sun-kissed glow.
I like that. That is awesome. Very cool. Liz, did you have any other bronzer tips that?
I do. I just wanted to show another way you can utilize bronzer is using it as eyeshadow. I'm using the same brush Dani just used, only the other end, because I like using this one more than my eyeshadow brush when I'm using a cream. So, and the bronzer is a cream. We're all using Bella bronzer right now, and this is a great color to use as an eyeshadow. So I think it's best if you keep it kind of because it can come off a little bit dark, and you can take the other end and kind of blend it out a little bit, but kind of get into your crease and above your crease with it. And then I'm going to show you just this will kind of be your base color, and this can kind of also act as a primer for your lids at the same time, because your other eyeshadow, if you apply any more on this, you could leave it alone and just leave it like this, or you can add another color, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to take my eyeshadow brush,
Pretty.
the smudgier end. Yeah, it's really pretty as an eyeshadow. And I'm just going to tap into this really pretty color here called Drift. It's a newer color. It's lighter, and it's a shimmer, so it has a little shimmer to it. And I'm just going to take that right along the edge here, right along my upper lash line.
What brush do you use, Liz? A lot of times I'll just apply this with my finger.
Right. I'm using the smudgier end of the eyeshadow brush.
Okay.
However, yes, when you use shimmers, they can have a tendency not to want to stick very well. So using more pressure, like your finger, works really well. Mine's pretty well primed with this bronzer on it right now. So I'm finding that with a little pressure with my brush, using the smudgier end, that the application is going on pretty well. And then you have kind of this really nice shimmer on your lid, and then you have the bronzer kind of accenting it above, and it's just kind of like a sunny eye too. I don't know a better way to say
really
that.
pretty. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that shimmer was that is called Drift.
Yes,
and you're right.
Drift.
You know, one thing I have found about the Seint eyeshadows and all the makeup, it's super pigmented. This shimmer eyeshadow is actually a powder, but it really almost feels velvety, almost like a cream.
It does. It really does.
But I love that putting that over the Bella bronzer, it really does stick and it really pops. So that is gorgeous. That's Drift. Really, really great. I love that. Easy.
Yes, it's super easy. And I have another tip I'm going to share real quick too. When you bronze your face, sometimes we forget that it kind of adds a glow to it, and you look very sunny up top, but then you can look, maybe especially in the winter right now, pale down below. So I really like to use the fluffier end of my blush and bronzer brush, and I typically keep two of my bronzers together side by side, because this fluffy end gets into it, and it's wider than the rest of the ends of our brushes. So I put
This is
Bella
Liz,
bronzer.
This is Bella. There, had a gal ask us, and this is Bella bronzer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm using both Bella bronzers here, and I'm just going to take it, and I'm also going to bronze my neck. And if you are wearing like a V-neck top, you can also bronze a little onto your chest. And this blends out. It's cream just like our highlight and contours and blushes. So it blends super easy. So sometimes I've got like a streak of bronzer across my neck, but just keep blending. It will blend out and it'll look amazing. And now you will match your face too.
Which is so great, because a lot of us do, as we're over 40, over 50, over 60, we either have a much darker décolletage, is that the right? Much darker chest, or our face is darker. You know, it never matches. One is off, and so that really does kind of help. And that, along with adding the contour, I think really helps kind of gradually match. So that's a really good tip. Yeah, so keep your questions till the end. I definitely could, and I'll go back and answer too. Yeah, definitely, gals. So that was Bella bronzer, and I think Bella bronzer, you can get the bronzer in a collection, which is great. You can get it with this blush and bronzer brush and the Bella bronzer. I think it's like $40, where the bronzer alone is $14 and the brush alone is $36. So it's a really great deal. But Bella bronzer, I think, is such a universal shade, and so I think it's great. Yeah,
it's the best.
It is a good shade. I think most of us can wear that shade, especially the way that we're demoing it. Like, how Dani was showing it with this brush, you're really not going over the top, but you can build it because it is sheer. You can build it. Dani, did you have some other tips about how to use our bronzer, or some other things? How else?
Absolutely, I do. So I like to mix my bronzer with an illuminator. You can pretty much use whatever, but I think it works best. You can see I need a new one with Glow, because it's a little bit darker. It's not super shimmery. And so you can just all go in with the same brush and just kind of go over those places that you put your bronzer, and it just gives a little bit of a sheen. It's not sparkly or glittery, nothing like that. And it just gives a sheen to where you would put your bronzer. And so I do like to mix those two together. You can mix them at the same time. You don't have to apply them separately. Yeah, swirl it together and do that. And then one tip too that I did forget, because we're using bronzer and you're a little bit darker when you're using bronzer, kind of don't forget the tips of your ears right here. Because sometimes they get really light, or you know, compared to makeup, and you have blush and bronzer. So I just
look at that.
very lightly go over that. So that's a tip for you.
And two, to add to that real quick, Dani, if you're ever using a fake tanner, and you miss a spot, you don't always know till it dries later, and you might be heading out the door. Take a little bit of your bronzer and touch up that area. It can be your hand, could be on your ankle. Ankles where that's always a mess. So
good tip. Yeah, absolutely.
That is awesome tip.
I also do love to use my Bella on my lips. A lot of times people can either line their lips with it. I'm just going to go in. I like to just gently pat it. You don't need too much. It kind of warms up whatever color you're putting over it. So I'm just going to pat it on just enough. And once you see a little bit of warmth, what I do is almost like a little bit of an ombre, just a nude lip. And so I have Petal, which is just a really soft pink. It's not something that I could wear alone, but if I wear it over my Bella, I'll show you, I put it just in the center of my lip and a little bit on the Cupid's bow on the top. And it just brings some lightness and some poutiness to your lips. And that's a great way to use Bella, and just kind of add a little, kind of the Petal almost adds another glow to your face.
That's a really good, that's a fun neutral lip. I mean, I have such tiny lips anyway. I think, you know how.
Yeah, you got the pelt.
Yeah, how anything lighter, like a highlight, that's why we love this makeup, because it gives us dimension. And so whenever you use something light over dark, already it's, you know, my little tiny lips are getting pulled forward. So you get that little bit of a pout. That's a great tip. I love it. Yes.
It also helps if you don't wear, you know, pinks don't always look great on me. So it warms up the pinks underneath and kind of makes it more wearable for me.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And petals, like you say, Petal is such a light color. What a great way to use that shade in that ombre effect.
Definitely.
Oh gosh. All right. So as promised, we want to take your questions. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Feel free also to hit that there's a little question bubble down in the bottom. Sometimes if you click that, you can actually type a question in and we can see it. That is a great way for us to take any questions. We're going to hang out here. Here's a question from Jody. What's the best way to pick the bronzer color of the 3 choices? Who wants to take that? Because we have more than just Bella.
Well, I know I like all of them for different reasons. So it just depends on what you're doing. If you're lighter, you can use Tan Lines, which is one of the lighter bronzers if you're more fair. Bella is universal. And then we have Heat Waves, which is a little bit darker. It also has some red to it. I can even wear that, and that one is great. That's Tan Lines. You can wear that under makeup. I feel like it takes away a lot of redness, and you can almost use that without a highlight over it sometimes if you're just doing very minimal neutral makeup.
And I love using Tan Lines as an eyeshadow. That's kind of one of my favorite, like, kind of base eyeshadow colors to use is that bronzer Tan Lines.
And then Heat Wave, this one has more kind of a reddish undertone. I know for women who have much darker, warmer, natural skin tone, this is great. I've seen this also used as a lipstick.
Mm-hmm. Blush, it looks really good as a blush.
Blush, gorgeous, yes. Yeah. So that was a great question. And all of these different bronzers now, we used to only have Bella, but they're all cream. They are all cream, and they come in singly for $14, or you can get them in a collection. All right, we have another question here. I'm going to get my glasses on.
I know I forgot mine, so I'm having a hard time seeing them. I forgot them.
Okay, so Diane, would you also use your contour color as a base for lip color? Yes, you can. So who contours their lips and uses maybe contour as a base?
I do. I know
I use it because it holds the lip color on longer. It works as like a primer. Too. Like I mean, I put it on my lips usually. Like my contour, I'll add it onto my lips, kind of like Dani just did with the Bella, because putting a base on like that will keep your lip color on longer, in my opinion.
That's great. Yes.
But you can contour under your lips, right under here.
Yeah. And, you know, really, really, really multi-purpose makeup. That's what I think is so great.
Right.
Elise, what shadow will not go into the creases? Well, I think it said quizzes, but I bet you meant creases, because that is our biggest challenge. So I know for me, I'm 55 and my eyes are starting to get a bit crepey. I've definitely got, you know, the laugh lines, and my lids, like as we age, they do get thinner. We lose that collagen in our eyelids. So I love matte shades, so matte eyeshadows, but you can use shimmer. Don't feel like just because we're older, we can't use shimmer. It's just, you know, the placement of the shimmer. So kind of keeping your shimmer right in the center of your lid, where it tends to be a little bit more taunt, you know, because our eyeball is under there. But do you gals have any tips on that as well? Like how to use shimmers so that they, or, you know, kind of avoiding that creasing? Priming your lid. Do any of you prime your eyelids?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't
powder.
I never ever don't prime it. I don't ever prime my lids. I always do. And I use either one of my cream highlight colors, or I use another, like if I want a real vibrant color, like if I'm using a blues or pinks and I want it to be a real vibrant color, I use a white base primer on my lids, and that does help with creasing as well. Also, keeping your eyeshadow in line with the tail of your brow and not allowing it to get outside into this area is you tend to like get, you know, more crepier wrinkles there. Keep it in here, go up towards the tail of your brow, but don't go outside of that.
And Dani, you mentioned a powder. You like to kind of also put a little powder on before or after?
After, I'll use my highlight to prime, and then I'll powder over it and just make sure that, and don't use too much. You just need the tiniest bit or it will settle.
Yeah,
less is more.
Less is more, and definitely make sure you use like I know a translucent powder, not a pressed. You know, I always for me, you know, powder, CoverGirl, pressed powder. You know, no, try to find, you know, use like our vanilla dust or a translucent, like a Coty Airspun, right, or something that's very light and translucent. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions. Okay, just a lot of thank yous. So glad that you were able to join us. So this was so much fun. If we missed a question from anybody, please message any of us. I don't see any other questions. Okay. Message any of us. Dani, please follow Dani. Please follow Liz. I've tagged them both in my stories today. They're both amazing Seint artists. Wonderful over 40 makeup tips. Lots of demonstrations, lots of tutorials. They're just really great. And if you do have any questions for us, just reach out. So this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I just did too, if I could add, I just did 3-part series of how to wear your bronzer by itself, under makeup, and over makeup. So feel free to check those out too if you want a way maybe to wear it without any other makeup, just wear bronzer.
Love that. Love that. And and you can save those. So that'll be so great. Well, thank you again for hopping on with us. We wish you all a great new year, and thank you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Karen.